Whoever said life isn't stressful has never had a job interview done before. The pressure of looking smart, the pressure of coming out as confident, the pressure of avoiding being overly confident or being overly timid, the pressure of carrying yourself appropriately, the pressure of impressing your interviewer. These factors alone can even wear you out even before you have your interview. Statistics have also shown that if about 118 people apply for a single job, about 20% of them would only be called for an interview. And after that, 1 out of 5 people will probably be selected for this job. That's why I've come to share these 10 things that you must never say at your interview, because they could literally bar you from getting that job, and it could be a total turn off for the person interviewing you. If you fall in the category of people that are currently set for a job, you want to stay back and watch to the end of this video and not miss out on any part. Now, it's not a known fact that you get very tensed up. Some people start hyperventilating even when, it's time for their interviews. No matter how much they've really prepared for these interviews, they get very tensed up, they get very emotional. And this can literally make you seem very incompetent during your interviews. This can make you seem like you don't know what you're doing when it's time for your interviews. And that's why you really need to calm down. You need to start applying stress relieving measures, whatever works for you. For me, it's deep breathing exercises. It's creating diversional therapies for myself, like listening to some music. It could be gospel, it could be hip-hop or anything, as long as it sounds really nice. So this is the time for you to employ measures that would help you stay very calm for your interview. Another measure that can help you as well is coming early for your interview. It could be a physical interview and it could be a virtual interview. You want to make sure that you are very early, you're prompt for your interview. If you're going for a physical interview, I would advise that 30 minutes before the time of your interview, you're already seated in the building or within the company waiting to be called for your interview. If it's a virtual interview, I personally like to be in the room waiting to be let in at 15 minutes, minimally, and I'm seated and waiting. I've prepared my environment, waiting to be interviewed. This in turn would make you feel very relaxed and feel very confident and feel ready for your interview. Having said all this, let's look at the 10 things that you must never say, regardless of how tensed up you are, regardless of how uncomfortable you are feeling at that point. First thing you must never say during an interview: I do not know. Nobody wants someone that will be asked a question and the next thing the interviewer would hear is, I do not know. Everyone wants you to try. Everyone wants you to, act like you have some form of knowledge. Trust me, even if it's something that you don't know, you want to give it a trial, you want to give it a go, because sometimes you might think you don't know something and you might have an answer at the back of your mind, and then when you actually say that thing, it turns out to be what the interviewer wants to hear, and you just impress them with that reply. So instead of just giving up and saying, I don't know, you want to actually try to answer the question. And if you get hooked along the line, you can always tell the employer that you've read about this thing, but you've suddenly forgotten about it, and you're going to make your researches to get that answer, but make them know that you even wanted to try to even get it, and you opening up and telling them that you knew about this thing before but you've suddenly forgotten about it shows them that you are also a very honest person and you're not trying to lie as well. Now, by saying say something, I'm not saying say something totally off the books, okay? Make sure that you're still in line with the question that you're being asked, but do not use the word I do not know. No employer or potential employer is going to be impressed with hearing such from your mouth. Now, the second thing that you must not say, for instance, is my previous employer was terrible. No potential employer wants to hear you speak evil of your previous employer. And this is not to dispute the fact that you probably had a shitty experience with your previous employer, but no current employer wants to hear you say ill things about your previous employer. Because the idea is, if you have the temerity to say something bad about your previous employer, then of course you would say something bad about this current employer if you actually leave them to go look for another job. It's going to be the same cycle. Okay, they're not going to have that trust in you that you're going to speak good of them if you leave them in the future, or if you're trying to even talk to someone else about them. So nobody wants to know about your previous shitty experiences with your employer. It's not going to get you that favor. You coming to tell that my previous employer was terrible, my previous employer was me hell, doesn't guarantee they're going to get that job. Okay, it literally turns them off. Okay, even if your previous employer was terrible, don't even have to speak highly of them. You can just create a scenario, saying that you gained, so much experience experiences in this previous place, but you're looking to expand your knowledge, and that's why, or your expertise, and that's why you're looking to work in a different setting. Do not, I repeat, do not speak ill of your previous employer. No matter how tempted you are, don't try it. It does not end well for you. Now, the third thing you don't want to say to your interviewer is that you are really nervous. Now, everybody knows that you are nervous. Even the interviewer sometimes is probably nervous to meet new people, to talk to new people. I think everyone gets that feeling from time to time, and they already know that you being an interviewee is going to be very nervous. Everyone knows this thing. It's going to be a very big lie if an interviewer says they don't know that the person they're interviewing is going to be very nervous, but nobody wants to actually see that. No one wants you to come and admit to them that you're really nervous, especially in an interview. One of the top tips that an interviewer wants to get from the person they're interviewing is to see that you are very confident. They want to see that you are able to rise above that nervousness. They want to see that you are able to rise above that uncomfortability and actually showcase what you've got to present or what you've got to bring to the table. Nobody wants to see someone who is nervous and is shaky and all that stuff. Always have it at the back of your mind that this is a survival of the fittest examination. So you want to make sure that you are giving your best, and even if you're nervous, you're able to hide that nervousness somewhere because it doesn't get you the job, okay? So do not ever say that you are nervous during a job interview. Now, the fourth thing that you never want to say in an interview is, I just need to take this call. Are you serious? Are you really serious? Are you joking? What call is very important than this interview that you're having right now? You are on an important call already. So whatever call that is coming into your phone should not even happen in the first place. You should be able to put your phone on silent, or if it's not your phone you're using for that interview, maybe your laptop or something. If it's a virtual interview, even if it's a physical interview, you want to make sure that your phone is off or your phone is on silent and you are not having any distraction. Having distractions during your interview is not even good for you because it can literally dislodge you and make you unsettled and, you know, lose track of what you were even talking about or what your potential employer is asking you, and you don't want that. What call can be very important. Put your phone on silent so you don't get distracted. That's how it should be. So do not ever say you want to go and answer a call. That is a total no, and that's the end of your interview if you ever say that. Another thing you don't want to say is, oh, it's in my resume. If you were asked a question by your interviewer, even if it's already in your resume, you don't have the right to tell them it's in my resume. You can have a look by yourself. Some people are so rude, some people are so uncultured and unmannered. They do not know how to behave, they do not know how to talk. Some people don't even intend to be rude, if we're being honest. But you need to be able to caution yourself because you are in a professional setting. So if an interviewer is asking you for an information that is already in your CV, they've gone through your CV already, they know about it, they just want to hear from you, because it's not new facts that people give others their CVs to construct for them or to make up for them. So sometimes they want to hear from you and know if you really understand what's in your CV. They want to be sure that whatever they are saying in your CV has not been coined by someone else. Sometimes they ask these questions because they want to get the real deal. They want to hear from the horse's mouth. So they're not asking because you're stupid, they're not asking because they didn't go through your CV. Before any interviewer comes to talk to you, they have gone through your CV, and that's why when you're applying, you attach your CV already. They go through it, they know you, but when they're talking to you, they want to get to know you more. They want you to expatiate on something that they're seeing on your CV that has caught their attention. That's why they're asking you. So do not ever tell them it's on my CV, you can have a look at it. I said something related to this at the start of this video where I was sharing tips on, you know, how to make yourself really calm during an interview. So one of the things you don't ever want to say is, sorry, I am late. Why are you late? There is no need for that statement to even come up if you have done the right thing. So you want to make sure that you come early to your interview space. If it's a physical interview or if it's a virtual interview, you want to make sure that you are there on time. If it's a physical interview, try to get there at least 30 minutes before the interview. It makes you calm and coordinated. It keeps you calm and receptive for the interview. If it's a virtual interview, even though you're going to be talking to the person through the screen, you want to make sure that the area you're going to use for the interview is quite prepared. There is nothing to distract you in the area you're going to use, so that there are no interruptions when you're doing your interview. You want to make sure that there's good reception and, you know, other bits that come with it. And how do you make sure of all this if you're not even on time? You're supposed to make sure all these things are put in place already, and make sure that you are seated at least 15 minutes before the virtual interview if you're going to have a virtual one. And if you do this, you'll see that you're going to be very calm, you're going to be much more receptive, you're going to be much more coordinated to have that interview. So please do not ever say, sorry, I'm late. Nobody wants to hear that. They are not interested. If you really want a job, you're going to be very early for it. If the interviewers or your potential employers are early before you, what does this say about you? It also shows them that even when they give you the job, you're going to be running late you're going to be running late to work every time if you can't even make it for an interview on time. And as tempted as you might want to be, of course, everyone knows that when you're looking for a job, mostly it's because you want to pay your bills. But even with that fact, the interviewers know as well that you are trying to make ends meet, and that's why you're looking to, you know, move up to a higher band or move up to a higher position that will earn you a higher money. But if you are asked, why do you want to do this job? Nobody wants to hear, I am only interested in the salary. That is so offensive to hear. And if I was an interviewer and you came to me and told me that when I asked you why the job, job, why that profession, and you tell me, oh, it's because of the money, oh my god, that is an absolute failure for you. I think I'd literally just end your interview there until you go home, because you don't know what you want. Every potential employer wants to see someone who is dedicated, want to see someone who has something to bring to the table. So even if you know that in depth you're coming for this particular position because of money, you don't want to say that. You want to show them that you are there because of passion for the job. And if you're just working for money, I think it's not going to last too long, because you're going to get worn out. So you should have some level of passion for whatever job that you're applying for. So you want to accentuate that passion more than your feeling or your love for the money that you're going to get from that job, if you get what I mean. So if you are asked why do you want to do this particular job, or why you are applying for this particular post, do not ever say it's because of the money, because of the salary range. Do not ever make that mistake, my guy. Do not. That's very wrong. Okay? Now, the next thing you don't want to say, or rather ask in your interview, is what does your company do? If you can't take time to read what the company is all about, why are you there for the interview? How did you apply for the post? What post are you applying for? If you don't even know what the company does, how did you apply? How did you get to that conclusion? I mean, doesn't even make any sense. You don't ever want to ask that question. What do you do? What does your company do? Are you serious? Does that sound like a serious person to you? I don't think so. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to ask that question. That is a very terrible question to ask your interviewers. No matter how tensed up you are. I know you can get very tensed up sometimes, and you want to be tempted to ask them, but what do you people really do in your company? No, you need to go to the website of the company. And this is why when I post job links, I always say, before you apply for a job, for those that don't know, I have a job channel where I post job links from time to time. So if you're looking for jobs, you want to go to that channel and subscribe and turn on the notification as well, so that you know when I put up job links there. Why I mention that is because when I'm posting job links there, I always say it. If you go through my videos, you would hear it times without number. I always say, before you apply for a job, do not be in a haste. Go through the company's website, read about the website, read about the company, read through all the job roles and responsibilities, what you're expected of, because that's going to help you in coining your CV and knowing what you're applying for exactly. Now, if you've done your assignment or your homework properly, you would never, no matter how tense you are, go ahead to ask your interviewer, what does your company do? You're expected to know what the company does before you come for the interview, because most questions that you would get, one of the questions that you would usually get during an interview is, why do you want to work for us? So at that point, if you don't even know what the company is all about, how would you be able to answer that question? How would you be able to know why you want to work for that company? What I like to do personally is to go read through the company's website, read what they're about, read through their values, read through their beliefs, their vision, their mission. And that is how I'm able to answer questions when I'm asked, why do you want to work for us? Because then you're able to get all the information. I even go as far as looking for reviews of this company or this organization, because it helps me in answering that question. It helps me to build my trust in that company as well, and look forward to even working with that company. So you need to acclimatize yourself with what they're all about and other information that I've talked about that you'd want to know about this organization before going for the interview, so you don't ask that silly question. Okay, the ninth thing that you do not ever want to say in an interview is, I do not have any weaknesses. Now, everyone knows that that's a lie. No matter who you are, even the best of the best have weaknesses. Everyone has that one thing that makes them vulnerable in their workplaces or in life generally. You always have that one thing that you always need to work on. But even if you're claiming to be the best, you must have one thing that you know is a problem that you need to keep working on and improving on. And this is what your potential employer or your interviewer wants to really know. They want you to be open to them. They want you to be vulnerable. So in as much as you're not trying to paint yourself as a very terrible person, you're also trying to tell them here that you have this weakness, and you're not just going to stop there by saying, oh, you have this weakness. You're going to expatiate and tell them that this is how you are working on resolving that weakness already. Okay, because everyone has weaknesses. Even the person interviewing you has their own weaknesses. Okay, the point here, the most important thing, is knowing that you recognize your weaknesses and you're already working towards managing those weaknesses. Now, for instance, one of my weaknesses is the fact that I find it hard to ask for help. I'd rather do something by myself, because I feel like, if I do it, then I know how best I'm doing it, and I'm doing it very well with all my heart, my soul, and my mind. So I wouldn't really trust if I give it out to another person to do it, because for me, they might not do it up to the standard which will be best for me. Now I'm working on that already. I ask for help mostly because I know that I can't do everything by myself, and in trying to do everything by myself, I run out of time and I'm not able to do as much as I would want to do. And I've seen that these things that I do are not really helpful, despite the fact that I have a very good intention. They don't produce best of results sometimes. I'm able to to meet up, and other times I'm not able to meet up. But to create a very good balance, I have started being open to asking for help when I need the help. That's a weakness that I just spotted, and have told you what I'm doing to work towards improving on that weakness. And that is what your employers want to hear. That is what your interviewer wants to hear. Not saying that, oh, I don't have any weakness. That would be a very big lie. And the only thing that you would end up doing is presenting yourself as a very dishonest person. And someone meeting you for the first time, having a conversation with you, doesn't want to perceive any ounce of dishonesty in you, because that's going to be a major turn off. So please note that. Last but not the least, one thing that you don't ever want to say in an interview is, I do not have any questions. You don't want to say that. You're not going to seem like a very serious person. You're not going to seem like someone that is inquisitive and that wants to know more or that wants to get more information. You're going to seem like a nonchalant person, and you don't want to create that avenue, or you don't want to create that impression to your interviewer, because if you say you don't have any questions, then it just shows them that maybe you're not serious, or you've not been invested in the interview, or you've not made your researches about the company enough to want to ask further questions, or you're not someone that is bent on growth and development. Now, you need to ask questions, and as much as you're asking questions, you do not want to ask silly questions. For example, when I said do not ever ask what does your company do, those are questions you don't want to ask your interviewer. There are much more better questions to ask. Questions like, what are the chances of growth and development? What opportunities does the company create for growth and development? Or what training opportunities are provided for employees within the organization? Now, these are questions that your interviewer wants to hear. It makes them know that this person knows what they're doing. It makes them know that this person is serious-minded. It makes them know that this person is quite smart and is bent on growing themselves and developing, is bent on expanding their knowledge and expertise. That is what every employer wants to see, and that's what every potential interviewer wants to see. And most times these interviews are recorded. It must not necessarily be the owner of the firm that is interviewing you, but note that most times they record these interviews and they give the employers themselves or the owners of the firm to watch them. And whatever you say would make or mar your interview, and you also need to impress your interviewer, because that's your first point of contact. Most times whatever the interviewer tells the employers or the owners of the firm is really what goes. So you want to make sure that you impress them and not ask the silly questions. And these are the 10 things that you should never say during your interviews, no matter if you're tense, no matter if you're worked up, or whatever the case might be. Do not get tempted to ask these 10 things. If you want to know more things that you shouldn't say during your interview, let me know in the comment section, and I'll get more of these things that you shouldn't say, and I'll come and share with you as well. I'll make it a part 2 of this video. And aside from getting these interviews, some people don't even have the opportunities to even make it to the interview stage. Some people get sabotaged even from submitting their applications, and some of these reasons are from your CV, the way you coin your CV, the kind of things you put in your CV. You don't even know about this, and you keep applying for these jobs and don't even cross that stage to even get an interview invite. And I've made a video about this where I've shared at least 3 things that could be sabotaging you from getting called for an interview from your CV. So if you want to know what those 3 things are, go ahead now and watch my video. You'll be seeing the link up here. Go ahead and watch that video so you can learn some of these things that you are probably doing that is sabotaging your chances of even getting called for an interview. And with this, I'm ending this video here. If you have not subscribed, please press the subscribe button so that when I put up informative content like this, you would be the first to see it. And if you also want to be getting tips, information on how to ace your job interviews, or things to do, or the ways to comport yourself at work, go ahead and subscribe, because I'll be sharing those things here and you can learn 1 or 2 things. And if you've not liked the video, like the video, press the notification bell button so that you will know when I put up new videos like this. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.